Alexandra works at
Barnes.
Barnes with Lvad or VADs. VADs are ventricular assist devices. Generally, the market share is Lvads or left ventricular assist device, but there's some, like I said before, right-sided and some biventricular. She's going to explain a whole lot more about them and how that pertains to us in the EMS environment. So I'll let her take it over from here.
Hello, how's everybody doing? Just a little background, I have been at Barnes for 9 years now. I worked in 56 actually for about 6 of those, so pretty familiar with ECMOs and LVADs and all that. Today we're just going to kind of go over our long-term patients, so not the more acute, non-permanent ECMO VADs, but people who are at home living in the community and emergency management with them. So my name is Alex, and then there's Denise, Christine, and Libby. We're all on the adult side, and then Mary, she'll be here tomorrow. She works on the peds side. So an LVAD is a mechanical circulatory device that helps to get blood from the left ventricle out to the rest of the body. We have 3 devices that we implant here at Barnes. The HeartMate 2, the HeartMate 3 is the newer version of the HeartMate 2 from Abbott, and then the HeartWare HVAD. We're moving away from implanting the HeartMate 2s, but you'll see a lot of our patients still have that. That's our biggest population of patients here at Barnes. All 3 devices are now approved for destination therapy and also bridge to transplant therapy. So the HeartMate 2 and 3 are very similar. I'll pass these controllers around for you guys to see. But the pump is here, and it's attached to the left ventricle with the graft and then goes up to the aorta. All of this is internal, and then the pump is actually connected to a drive line which exits the abdomen. That's like the electrical communication between the pump and then the controller, which is like the computer of the system. All of our patients have to be connected to 2 power sources, so they can either use batteries or their wall cord. So for the HeartMate 2 and 3, their batteries are a little bit bigger, a little bit heavier. The equipment's about 10 pounds by the time everybody has their batteries and everything in their bag together. The older patients have this bigger power base for their wall cord, so you'll probably see those a lot. But we're moving towards getting everybody on this mobile power unit, a lot smaller, a lot easier to carry, doesn't take up hardly any room. The batteries with the HeartMate 2 and 3, they last anywhere from 10 to 14 hours. It's just different for every patient. They can wear down over time. We exchange out their equipment and stuff as that starts to happen. And then the power base unit, here, that's the power module, the kind of bigger wall unit. So kind of the takeaway from here is just if you do pick up a patient, just make sure they have all of their spare equipment, spare power sources. Usually their caregivers are pretty good too about having all their spare stuff with them. All of our HeartMate 2 and 3 patients are now on this newer controller. We don't have anybody left on this old controller here. So all of their pump numbers can actually be viewed right on the controller here. And I'll show you guys how to do that here. The really important thing with alarms and what we teach our patients is to, 1, don't freak out, which is hard when that thing is screaming at you like crazy, but to make sure the green pump running symbol's on. So if you're getting an alarm, the first thing I tell people is make sure these green arrows are illuminated. That means your pump is still running, everything's fine, and the alarm will actually tell you what to do. Most of the time it's call us, so you guys will just call us or let the ER know you're coming in. There's various alarms here listed. The red hazard alarms are the life-threatening emergent alarms. You can't silence them, they have to be addressed right away. And then there's a different set of programming for the HeartMate 2 and 3. The patients are pretty good about knowing kind of where their normal numbers sit. So the flow is how much blood is flowing through the pump in liters per minute. If it's too low, there is an alarm set in there that'll alarm and tell you to call us. A lot of times with these patients, it's fluid related. Before they get the pump, we're telling them don't drink, don't drink, don't drink. And then after they get the pump, everything's being mobilized better and they're actually not drinking enough. So the pump can't tell if they're hydrated or not, or if they're bleeding, it's just going to keep spinning and spinning. So a lot of times our low flows are the patients just dehydrated, or we've over-diuresed them, or bleeding is the other big one. They all have to be on anticoagulation, so a big common complication that we have is GI bleeding. The speed is a number that we set based on what's going on with the patient. So the speed may fluctuate a tiny bit, but it really shouldn't change in big increments. And again, there's an alarm in there if that were to happen. The pulse index kind of represents the heart function underneath the pump. The big one with that, with the heart rate too, is if it gets really low, then they're probably, again, a little bit dehydrated. And then the pump power is a little bit different. That's the one we look at. If it's too high, that could mean that the pump is working a little bit harder, or there may be a clot or something in the pump that's causing that power to go up. And then the heart rate 3 has the same set of numbers. The ranges are a little bit different. The heart rate 3 does have an artificial pulse. So you can hear that when you do listen. The heart rate 2 is just a very steady hum. And the heart rate 3, you can hear that artificial pulse going if you do listen. The Heartware HVAD is the other pump that we implant at Barnes. We have pretty many patients on that therapy as well. The big difference between these two is the heart rate 2 and 3 have an internal battery in the controller, so if the patients were to take off both of their power sources, that internal battery will keep the controller running. The Heartware does not, so if they accidentally disconnect both their batteries, the pump stops until you get them. They have kind of the same setup, so they have a wall cord, and then they have to be either connected to a wall and a battery, or 2 batteries at one time. The batteries are a little bit smaller and last anywhere from each battery lasts 4 to 6 hours with that. So the first thing that we recommend is to always listen and make sure you can hear the pump. A lot of times you can't hear the patient's heart sounds underneath the hum of the pump. And then a big thing is to make sure, are they having heart failure symptoms? So fluid overload, things like that, weight gain, shortness of breath. We actually recommend Dopplering the blood pressure. It's really hard to pick up a cuff blood pressure on these patients or a pulse ox because the pump's not pulsing.
If we find them in profuse failure, should you turn the machine off?
I would call us first and just kind of see what the team needs to do. What do you mean, like
pulmonary edema coming out of their nose, just massive failure of fluid overload?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a possibility.
But call.
Like if they're found
always
down.
call first.
Yeah, because we'll go through with you guys how to disconnect everything and turn off the alarms, because they both will actually alarm if you just start disconnecting some, and they won't stop alarming. It's really hard to feel a pulse on these patients as well. And then this is more what we do here in the hospital once the patient gets in. We'll interrogate their bag, look at their numbers, see if they're having any alarms or abnormal numbers. You always want to make sure the controller is connected to 2 power sources, and I'll show you guys that. I have some examples here. And that the driveline is in place. So the driveline, that electrical wire that connects the pump to the controller, shouldn't ever fall out on its own, but if it is out, you want to reconnect it as quickly as possible. And we actually like their Doppler pressure between 70 and 80, definitely less than 100. So you'll see you may not even be able to get a cuff pressure to pick up on these people, and if you do, you'll usually see a very narrow pulse range. Hypertension can actually cause a lot of low flow alarms in these patients, so if they're very hypertensive, you might see them having a lot of low flow alarms. All of our patients are on Coumadin. We keep them, mainly their INRs 2 to 3 for both devices, and then they're also on a full strength aspirin. Here's our number here. This is the same number you would call during the day during office hours, and then after hours this number will go to our answering service. And I have some cards here for you guys if you want to take those with our number on them. This we all kind of talked about, a Doppler blood pressure of 70 to 90. You most likely will not be able to feel their pulse due to the pump being a continuous flow pump. We do say that you can do chest compressions, you can do ACLS protocol and give all drugs on these patients if their pump is off and they're non-responsive and it's deemed necessary. The pump doesn't affect EKG, but along those lines, if someone is in VTAC or VFib, they could be feeling fine. Every patient's different, but some patients do feel symptomatic and could have alarms if they are in an abnormal heart rhythm. All ACL drugs can be given, they can fly. Just want to make sure that you have all of their spare equipment and that their batteries are charged. And I can show you guys those.
Do you cardioverter them? So you can, okay.
We don't really recommend it if it's, somebody who's been in like AFib or something like that, but if they are in VTAC, then most of our patients are on anticoagulation, so it would be fine to do that. We don't have any devices anymore that have a hand pump, so you don't have to worry about any of that. If the pump is off and it's witnessed, then we ask that you guys just call us. If it's been off for an extended period of time, there are cases that we might not have it restarted. And again, it's a really good idea most of these patients, they live at home with this. They're the experts on this. They know how to take care of it, and their family members do too. I won't say all of them, we do have some people who aren't the best with keeping track of things, but the family members are a great resource to make sure they have all of their equipment or if anything's kind of abnormal for the patient. And then one of us is on call 24/7, so if you have any issues, you guys can call us anytime.